try to be honor everyone's time and keep it to an hour today, maybe even a few minutes shorter. I know everybody would love that. Several things we want to get through today. One, debrief the corporate social purpose launch happy hour that happened earlier this week. I'll let Latifa offer her feedback and thoughts before I offer mine, but great event earlier in the week. We'll talk a little bit about that. Quick update on the state service plan, and then really want to spend most of the call talking about kind of events and some next steps and some high level things that I think we need to address. And Candace is going to help us with some of that as well. Really around the roadshow, around GVSA, the conference, all the kind of big events that have a communications and partnerships component. So to start off, then, Latifa, you wanna debrief the big event earlier this week? Your
I
thoughts?
want to, I shall, because you've requested. Um, it was good. We had a lot of very good feedback, a lot of very good feedback, which was wonderful to hear. We had about 40 to 50 folks at different points. We had a capacity of about 60 and had an invitation list of about 72. So I think we did pretty well for ourselves. And then a lot of the folks who did not attend, they actually reached out, which I don't do events a lot, but I feel like when I do, I don't hear from everyone. I feel like we heard from like a good percentage of the folks who couldn't make it. So that was really good. And they're like, oh, please reach out after, we want to get involved. We have three folks, and now I'm kind of giving just a quick, brief um, next step update. But we have three folks who are already interested, who are not just interested, who've completed the commitment statement and signed up for the network. We're thinking it's going to take folks some time because it does have like the business model, business individual model, where it's like the company is the representative, they belong to the network. And so their attorneys are going to have to look at the documentation. So we're not worried about that just yet, but it was good to see it. Already three folks have signed up and signed the commitment statement. But yeah, a really good event. Big ups to our Bridgestone partners and big ups to Nathan, who was very key to the success of the event. Folks were literally raving about the succulent pots, which we have extras of. And my last statement here, we have like 20 extras, which was unexpected because folks might have left with that one. And then also, of course, we had about 50 folks, so we ordered 60. So there are 20 left right now. I have to go in and like water plants. I'm going to work with the interns, see if they can water them. But if you all know of any corporate social responsibility folks who may be interested, I'm hoping to use it as an onboarding gift in like the next 2 weeks to a month. Really be great to get these to folks in the next. Yes, it's so cute. It's like super wonderful. So if you all know of anyone, let us know. And that's my update, Nathan. Passing it back to
Yeah.
you.
Thank you, Latifa. Yeah, so if just to kind of recap in case anybody wasn't aware or had forgotten, so earlier this week was the we called it a launch. I think publicly it was a happy hour, but really essentially it was the first public step out and coming out of the corporate social purpose um, network. The first lady was there. Commissioner of FNA Jim Bryson was there. Of course, Jim Snell, myself on behalf of the commission. We had the whole core groups, all of that, those corporate philanthropy folks that had been leading this work and building this out over the last year and a half were there. Latifa and all of her extraordinary interns. Candace was on the other side of the state offering tech support on the back end. Things went really, really, really well. It's very, very, very exciting. The enthusiasm from the partners that I spoke to while we were there was very good, right? So I mean, some large, very profitable organizations that were excited about the event. I'll echo everything that Latifa said. I think it went so well. It's one of those things where if it doesn't go well, it leaves a bad taste in people's mouths. That was not the case. I think it went exceptionally well. Very exciting. People seem to love it. The Jim Bryson loved it. The first lady was excited about it. We spent some time talking to her afterwards. So just awesome, awesome, awesome job, especially to Latifa and her team, her interns, but to everybody. So lots more to come. Lots of things that Latifa and those folks are working on. They're going to start doing some events pretty relatively quickly, and some other programming and things. So definitely look forward to hearing more about that work. Anything you need, Latifa, from folks on this screen as it relates to corporate social purpose, or anything you want them to just have on their mind, or any asks of them?
Yeah, thanks, Nathan. I will say the next steps for us, like Nathan referenced, are prepping for these events. So then there will be learning sessions, virtual learning sessions we believe, though they could be hybrid, that's still being discussed by the core. And we need to confirm our panelists. So the ask could be, so we're hoping to get Alliance Bernstein. I think we've got that like locked in. Eastman Chemical, I believe that's locked in. But McKee Foods or FedEx, we have a contact and haven't really been able to like take it to the next level of engagement. And so if anyone knows someone who may know a CSR representative there, that would be great. And then also, just in general, for your CSR professionals, volunteer engagement managers, philanthropy, you all know in the for-profit space, but also in quasi-government spaces, just share the word. We'll pass the link to like a shareable situation that has like a one pager and then link information commitment statement so that when everyone has access to it, and maybe like template language for emails if you want to quickly get the word out. But that would be my ask for now. And then I'll think on that some more. Thanks, Nathan.
Thanks, Latifa. Any other questions or thoughts for Latifa on anything she shared?
So just for clarity for the group, and for me as well. So now that the launch has happened, we are in full swing of recruiting. We're in full swing for recruitment, Latifa?
Exactly, Candace. And
Okay.
actually, sorry, Nathan, if I could actually say one last thing, I continue to bring this up. Now that we are at this stage, hopefully the commission will continue to think about, okay, so how do we make this sustainable? How do we keep this up? You all know I'm the National Service Programs Director, which is really over AmeriCorps. And so that's my day job. A lot of what I do for corporate social purpose, which I love to do, is in the evening and weekend time. And so it would be lovely to bring on potentially someone like, in some capacity, part-time or even less, that's a CSR professional. I'm been working on a CSR course for the last year just to get through it. And like, we could bring in someone potentially that has a little bit more time. So I think if the commission can start thinking about intentionally, because this is really great work that will support across all programs for Volunteer Tennessee with businesses staff.
And Latifa, it may be helpful as well if you're able to. Do you want to pull up real quick and just let people know that the website? I know there's still some things that may be edited, but I think for any of the commissioners, as you're out there and you engage with businesses or corporate entities that you think may have a good interest, we do now have an actual web page, landing page on the Volunteer Tennessee site that you can direct them to that has all the information, frequently asked questions, has a link to essentially sign up. So, yeah, Latifa, do you want to just kind of highlight what's on there just so folks know?
Yeah, absolutely. And this was another update I had. So right now, as you all know, we don't have a communications person at this time. And so I did do this. So it is definitely looking like someone who does not fully understand the beauty of website design. And so the goal is to change this up. But for now, I think it has the bare bones. You go in, you've got mission statement, why it matters, what we do, the CSB core leadership. So the folks who are now in the core, there are like at least 5 folks who are part of the Founders Council, who are part of the planning, but these are the folks who are leading us in the implementation stage. You go in, someone would be able to click on this document, or sorry, on this clickable to join the network. They would fill out a form, asking, different questions about who they are and what they do and all of that awesome. But before they do this, they would sign a commitment statement, which is linked in that survey, but is also referenced here. And it basically just like talks about who we are again, Volunteer Tennessee, what it means to be a member, and then asks them to sign also, very most importantly, that your business, your company is signing on, not the individual. Though the individual is signing on, it's really both. And then also kind of talking about the expectations. When a member leaves, then the business, the company is expected to replace that person. So a lot of good information there, and open to all the feedback. Right now, we're trying to see if an intern can get access to the Volunteer Tennessee webpage. That would be awesome. So that way we could build it out more, like make it pretty and creative and have more clickables. But for now, that's what it looks like. And again, open to feedback.
And at this time,
Latifa,
oh, sorry, go ahead, Kim.
No, I was going to say, it's Kim. I've got a suggestion for you for someone that might be able to fill that role. I don't know how long term it would be, but she'd be a win even if it's short term. And she was actually at the event. I don't know if you had a chance to meet her. Did you meet Sloan Lucas?
I remember the name. But I don't know if I remember it from the attendee list or actually meeting them in person.
Oh, okay. Well, she was there. In fact, she was giving me grief because I wasn't able to be there.
Yes, I do
She was
remember
texting me
Sloan.
from the event.
I do remember because you said
She has been the ESG CSR person for 1-800-Flowers
mm-hmm,
and Harry and David, and working
mm-hmm,
remotely out of our area. Before that, she was with Cracker Barrel, and in the same capacity. And her job is being eliminated.
mm-hmm. Yeah, we
So
did talk, and Rebecca introduced me.
yeah. So she just texted me in the last couple of days and said, "Hey, if you hear about anything, I really want to get back into the CSR space in a more genuine way," because her role was a lot more environmental with 1-800-Flowers. So it may be, a contract thing or something like that, but she's brilliant, and she's been doing, before she was at Cracker Barrel, she was at Toys R Us. So, I mean, all the big brands.
That is
So,
an
so
awesome
she may be
suggestion.
somebody worth talking to.
Yeah, thank you, Kim. And she actually told me in that moment, she was like, make sure to give Kim grief for not being here. I was like, no, I know she's busy. Thank you. If I could connect all three of us somehow in that conversation, or maybe not, but I will let you know. That's an excellent suggestion. I know we do not have the funding right now. I think we may all kind of be aware of that. The conversation and something for this group to think about is, how could we get funding potentially? Maybe Pokes would be willing to do it pro bono. I could totally have that conversation with Sloan. I'm going to go on a bit of a spiral here, but yes, thank you, Kim. I'm going to reach out very soon, aka right now.
Yeah, I mean, the one of the things that I love about Sloan in the, I guess, like 7 or 8 years that I've known her is that her least favorite thing in the world is to be bored. So she likes to be busy. So if I mean, I'm not going to speak for her, obviously, that wouldn't be appropriate. But I think if you were really honest with her about what the trajectory is, and hey, there's no money, but we think we could hustle our way into some money. Anyway, I think it's worth the chat.
Thanks, Kim. Extremely valuable. Yeah.
Thanks, Kim. Thanks, Latifa. Well, I'm going to keep us moving forward. I will just add that if you've got a chance in your own time, definitely please get on that webpage and at least take a glance at some of the documents and the frequently asked questions, just so the goal would be that all the commissioners at least have a good surface level knowledge of what the program is, what it offers, high level at least about how it functions. Because as you all are out and about doing the work that you do, of course, we want you to be an advocate for it. It's a great entity and a group of folks that we've not quite been able to engage before, and we definitely want it to be successful. So Candace dropped the link in there. Definitely check it out in your own time. And if you've got any questions directly about something, of course, feel free to reach out to Latifa, and I'm sure she'd be happy to help you with that as well. Okay, with that, sorry, go ahead, Candace.
Just one more thing. Just very quickly. As you guys talk to the other commissioners, just make sure they know about corporate social purpose. Make sure that you are praising just the efforts that is going on, what the group is doing. Because we need you all's support as well to make sure that not only are we building it out within staff, but we need to build it out within commission. And then we also need to build it out within our external customers as well, right? So just as you're talking and you're thinking about the meeting that's coming up in August 8th, and as we're discussing it over the next couple of months, like it'd just be really great to hear your feedback on how we can make sure that this is instituted with the commission as well, so that we can have a bigger impact.
Nathan,
I'm done. Yeah.
I was just going to say, can we talk to Jim and Terry, if Terry's on, I can't tell, about including a little segment of our next meeting to go through this a little, put up a few slides about all the things that are, and then how can we help type of thing, I'm just suggesting it for our next meeting.
Idea, just to have an event section, period. That's incorporated within the commission meetings, because we never really have a lot of time to talk about corporate social purpose, the road show that's coming up, the conference, GVSA, like we never have that kind of time. So if we could get that communication section that's just sort of instituted in every commission meeting that we have, I think that it would be very beneficial just to all the external things we have going on.
Kim, I think you were going to say something too.
Yeah, I was going to say that I wonder for you, Nathan, who has in my mind, the best sort of broad picture lens of this. I feel like Volunteer Tennessee could use a win right now with all that's happening with AmeriCorps, and I mean all the things I don't need to explain to anybody. But I'm wondering if that is an opportunity to position this as a way, honestly, to continue to be relevant when there's so much going on that feels like it's pulling the rug out from under us. So just in terms of like how to brand manage it within the commission, but also as we're looking at it externally, I think we could not have been more fortunate with the timing of the hard work that you all have put into this. Because what do you do when the backbone of your brand gets pulled out from under you?
Yeah.
Well, you find someplace else to be really important, and I think this might be one of them.
Yeah. No, I agree, and thank you for those sentiments. I definitely agree, and I'm really glad that all of this is happening. I don't want to say I'm glad. It's messy, it's frustrating, right? But at a moment that if it's going to happen, I'm glad that it's happening at the same time that we're talking about structures, that we're talking about processes, that we're talking about a new state service plan, that all the things, right? Like the timing, I think, has put us in a place where we have the ability to pivot. We just got to be very intentional about utilizing it and not letting it slide past us and wasting it. So I know I agree 100%. Kim, and I'm hoping, I know next week we have our call, our chat to work on state service plan stuff. I'm hoping that broadly is one of the things we can spend maybe a little bit of time on, is just thinking through how we better position ourselves, not necessarily around a singular program. Because I think, to your point, I think that's what hit us really hard, right? Was that for a lot of folks, Volunteer Tennessee was defined primarily by one area or one program component. Even though we do lots of things, there was one thing that was primarily associated, and that one thing was the thing that was ultimately attacked. And we've got to navigate that and figure out how to move forward past that. So no, I really, really, really appreciate that, and I agree completely. So on that note, what I would also say is, going back to the state service plan. So real quick update, and then I really want to focus the rest of the time on the big stuff. But the state service plan, so as you all are aware, during our last commission meeting, the one in Nashville at the United Way, it was decided that we wanted to task that group that had drafted that initial version or model of the goals for the state service plan, task them with coming back together to kind of work that through its next phase before kind of handing it back off to the committees. So that entity is meeting, I believe, Wednesday of next week. So Kim's on that team. I'm on that team as well. Several other commissioners are on that team. I believe that's next Tuesday or Wednesday. Meeting again. I think the goal of that meeting is to finalize and hash out some things so we've got something to actually move forward with, based off of all the feedback we heard in the big commission meeting. One of the items I did want to share with you all, so Candace and Latifah and I had a chance to touch base last week or the week before last. I don't really remember. It's all running together. But we've seen each other a lot in the last couple of weeks. But I think last week we had a chance to touch base and just prep for this meeting and prep for the corporate social purpose event and the roadshow. And one of the items that we discussed in a pretty lengthy amount was how much we need to focus in on what was on the previous plan. So Latifah had shared that there were a couple of items that were kind of bullet pointed out to explore on the strategic partnerships plan. There were a couple of items that were bulleted out to explore on the communications plan. Of course, those two committees then combined. Then all the AmeriCorps stuff happened. And then on top of that, we're, of course, rewriting the plan as well. So spent a little bit of time about chatting through which of those items we probably need to still put some focus and attention on. One of those items, of course, was corporate social purpose. So that's still happening. One of those items on the communication side was the roadshow, which is still happening, and we'll talk about. There was definitely some items on there related to funding, which I think we may talk about here in a moment a little bit. But there were a couple of other items that were on that list that perhaps were new initiatives, perhaps to explore and work through. And some of the feedback that I shared with Latifa and Candace is considering that our current state service plan really only runs us through the next few months until it runs out, right, through the remainder of the year, it probably doesn't necessarily make sense to devote a significant amount of time launching a new initiative only to then completely have a new plan, right? That may or may not include that thing. So really just focusing on trying to make successful the couple of new things we already kind of have in the air and not add any new balls to the juggle. So that was my feedback. If anybody is opposed to that, please feel free to share. But I definitely just want to not overwhelm the staff, who I know are already have their hands in a lot of pots, but also just be conscientious that a lot of things are changing, and launching something brand new at this exact moment in time perhaps is not the wisest. So any thoughts on that, or any, and if you disagree with that, please feel free to share that. But that was the feedback that I had shared with Candace and Latifa. Okay, hearing none, I think we're okay with that then. So we're going to try to make the most of the things we currently have in the air and make them be successful without trying to add to the current workload. So, okay, with that, I think the remainder of our time, the next 30, 35 minutes, I really want to focus in on having a conversation, and I think Candace is going to help us kind of walk through some of this, but having a conversation around really some of those big initiatives of the commission. So the roadshow is a big piece of that, as well as the conference, GBSA, all the other things that aren't really AmeriCorps or corporate social purpose. So Candace, anywhere in particular you want to start? Because I know there may be some items that are a little bit more timely. So we'll just start with roadshow.
Yeah, sorry, I was muted, but I
No,
think
you're
the
good.
roadshow is, I think the roadshow is just a good place to start because it is the next upcoming thing. So,
Yep.
As an initiative of the Strategic Partnership and Communications Group, the idea of the roadshow was born, just to sort of give it a quick recap of a way that we can go across the state, hold meetings of our external partners, external customers, as a way to, and here are a couple of goals that are here to gather community input on the state service plan, and also to increase awareness of Volunteer Tennessee and its mission. So just sort of putting it up here just so you guys can see that these are sort of the kind of things that, well, the first two goals that we really want to get out of these meetings. Feedback to any other goals that we may be missing in these, and other things that we can do as we build out the agenda, the questions, and all the great, and as we highlight, as Kim said, all the great wins that Volunteer Tennessee has done this year, and that the wins that we're claiming in advance. So before I kind of move on to the general logistics, does anybody have any feedback, questions, comments, or statements just about the general Volunteer Tennessee Roadshow goals that I have here?
If I can also quickly add, as folks are thinking through goals, keep in mind as you're thinking through potential goals that we're doing this on a shoestring / probably no string budget. So,
Yes.
shoestring, no string budget. So when it comes
Yes.
to goals, let's think through what those might be. So
Okay. So just to move on, because we kind of already talked about it, just to sort of keep things moving. This is just a sample event agenda. This is just kind of what we've thought about just in the just off the brain, off the dome, as we are thinking about what audience we would like to have attending at these roadshow meetings. So for key partners, we have the private corporate sector, nonprofit service sector, organizations that are funded through our national service program. That includes maybe alumni that were past AmeriCorps members, maybe program directors, whatever that looks like as far as our national service programs. That's not specifically limited to just AmeriCorps, but when we're saying national service programs, we're thinking about AmeriCorps and the other AmeriCorps that's under that umbrella that could put into this. They're not necessary, it's fine, but just thinking about the representatives so that when you guys start to build out who's going to be there, these are kind of the people that we're looking at. Also, So just having a group focus, coffee and chat, how that looks, something that's sort of loose, but actually just structured as well as the type of conversations that we're having. And then have some parts where we can network in a network reception for those elected partners and the focus group participants. As you guys are kind of looking at this, I do have the possible dates that I've looked out, that I've sort of secured, but they're just waiting on us to get the final say so on the date so that I can send it back to them. So hold on. So we were also talking in that meeting that instead of having 3 meetings in 1 week, it'll be better if we have 3 meetings over 3 months. So we have dates that are for right now, July 28th, which will be which Katie, thank you so much. I was able to reach out and speak with Katie's suggestion for the University of the South for July 28th. It's the possible date that we're thinking. For Clarksville, thank you, Nestor, the American Jobs Center, we're thinking August 20th. And for Jackson, Kane, which I'm sure you guys all know Kane, he is no longer on the board, but he definitely connected me with the UT Ag Center. We're thinking September 25th. So that way we have 1 meeting that we can take into the August 8th board meeting for any discussion, pros, cons, thorns and roses. And then we're done before our retreat and we have enough time to collect the information and be able to present it by the November retreat. Per Jim, these sort of miss our blackout dates for Volunteer Tennessee. And these are the dates that we're looking at right now. And I'll type them in the chat in just a second. But as of right now, these are the dates. And if everybody has a general consensus, then I can go ahead and confirm these dates. Anybody have any? That's not a good date. I tried to avoid 9/11, Labor Day. These were strategically placed so that, we're not in the middle of going to college and their onboarding time. We have enough time to gather in between time. It's not such a strain on the staff. We will be looking for volunteers from the commission to help with these as far as the facilitation, the small group conversations that we're having. So just making sure that, because we have one coming up, it's quick really, but not really. But our first one that will be coming up then is on July 28th.
And
Okay.
to add to that, I think for the commissioners, for those of you on the screen and other commissioners, and we'll of course share this out, the expectation is not that you necessarily have to come to all 3 of these. That is not
yes.
The expectation is
Yes.
we have hopefully a few folks from the commission at each, right? So of those 3
Yes.
dates, we've got one in each of the divisions, East, West, Middle Tennessee. Ideally, if the one that's in your region, if you're available that day and able to get there, we would highly encourage. And we'll just try to make sure that there's at least a few commission representatives at each of these. But that really is the big ask of the commission, is we want you all to be in some capacity present and participating and assisting with these. So again, if one of the dates doesn't work, but broadly speaking, we would love to see if folks could attend one of them.
Okay. So just to kind of, move forward, just to sort of wrap these up, because Nathan is awesome, he has some sample language to invite the focus group participants here. Email language for things that we have here. So we've worked through a couple of the initial things as far as invites. We can work on any type of marketing piece or, any type of flyer that you guys need. But okay, thank you, Nestor. We already got one signed up, Nathan. So Latifah, so yes, thank you, Nestor. So as we're thinking about, I know, right? Like the gold star. as we're thinking about next steps, right? So from this group, it's what communications it's needed, who are we inviting, what does that invitation look like? Um, and if these are the goals, we can sort of work together on that agenda so that we can have it to send out. But I guess the question is, what next steps do we need to make this event successful? So that we at least have a full month of, invites, promotions, and what do we need to do here in the immediate time of the next couple of weeks to make sure, because as we're gathering things, making sure that all of our volunteers, our commissioners, and Jim and everybody is well prepared as we're going into this, because we don't want to just, bang it out on the 27th and be like, okay, here's everything, let's move forward. So these will be a couple of the things that we need to think of, just moving forward on how the agenda looks. Hopefully each meeting will be the same. It's very possible that each meeting will be different. But with the same goals in mind, because of course we'll have different people that will be joining us. So just thinking about that, how many people do we want at the event? Is it completely public? Is it invitation only? So these are a couple of the questions that sort of need to be answered, along with the dates solidifying, so that we know how to move forward and know what to communicate with the commission, as we, invite them out, sign them up, and let them know what their responsibilities are. So I will pause there for a second. And I'm going to just kind of go back down here to our sample event schedule and just open it up for a broad conversation of next steps that are happening here between now and the end of June.
The first question I'll throw out, and this may be a Jim question, I think he's on now, is for the focus group portion itself, the part where we're really are actually wanting feedback. What is, I know he's done several of these in the past, what is kind of the ideal max number? What is the cap for that? Obviously, there may be some folks that come for the reception, that aren't necessarily in the focus group, but for the focus group itself, in order for it to be a meaningful conversation, what's our ideal minimum and maximum number of folks? Because I think that right there will probably give us some guardrails that we can operate around. I think Jim's on, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me, Nathan? Okay.
Yes, we can.
So yeah, well, there's not really a maximum. I mean, we can, so if there's a lot of people, we can break them up into small groups and have small group work and then bring it up into a larger group discussion. So I wouldn't worry too much about having too many people there. In order to have a meaningful discussion, we need probably like 5 to 10 people to really be able to have a good input from individuals, and then again, kind of bring that up into a larger group discussion.
Very good. That's helpful. Thank you, Jim. And then if you all saw Candace's note as well, in terms of space, number of people shouldn't be too big of a limitation. So the spaces can accommodate a variety. So with that, the two areas that I potentially, I'll throw these out there to start the conversation, two areas that I think are probably timely. One is the invite list. Is the invite list itself. I know looking at kind of under the focus group section, and the networking section, kind of who those key partners are. I do think that when I think about private, corporate, nonprofit service, and then the national service programs or the entities we're already working with, I think who's going to have the lists and recommendations on who the right people are is probably going to differ. Like from the corporate private space, I would imagine that the CSP network, for example, Nikki and Wade and some others may want to weigh in on who perhaps is on that list. When I think about the national service programs, I'm thinking that's probably some folks that the Volunteer Tennessee staff themselves probably have a better inkling at who's probably on that list, because they'll have lists of programs and former folks. And then perhaps in the nonprofit and service sector and the kind of general public, that seems like an area that probably the commissioners perhaps can offer some assistance in identifying, because there may be some folks that are in the nonprofit space that we are not currently engaging or touching at all, right? And we kind of want at least a few of those people at the table as well, to offer some feedback. So a potential idea, Candace, not saying this is the right idea, but a potential option is that might actually be 3 different small lists that are divvied out, perhaps, right? One to just kind of disseminate the workload a little bit, but I think maybe coming up with a brainstorm list of some names and emails and relationships for each of the 3 areas, I feel like could probably be divvied up a little bit. That's just an idea, right? So maybe we throw together a quick spreadsheet similar to what we did for the kickoff event that we did earlier this week, right? We essentially just had people kind of, hey, throw in some quick recommendations for this region, for this region, for this region. Maybe that's a simple starting place, and we could divide that up amongst some teams or something. But there's an idea.
I can create that and have it ready for your follow-up email.
Also, when looking at the nonprofits and even some of the other partners for the focus group, it seems like we might want to have people who align with what our strategic areas of interest are, to make sure we're addressing those goals and initiatives, rather, like I would, as a nonprofit, I'd love to participate, but I don't align with our mission and goals for a lot of the things that we're trying to do in terms of our focus areas. So just putting that out when we look at who these people are who are in the focus group.
I like that. That could even be when we send this out for folks to perhaps brainstorm some names. Maybe that's even something we could have at the top or have in the email as like hey, as you're thinking through, give some emphasis in these areas, right? Be thoughtful about folks that perhaps exist in this space. I think that's a great idea, Amy.
Okay. Well, if there are no other initial thoughts just on the roadshow, I'm going to assume that no news is good news. So we're going to kind of roll with what it is, with where we are at this point. So we will circle back, create a prettier agenda. I will go ahead and get I can create a folder that has the emails, the suggested languages of things so that everybody has access to it. Maybe even create like a little welcome flyer. I can also create some Eventbrite links so that we can have it so that people can sign up. That's free and that's easy to manage. Our Excel spreadsheet. So I think just some logistics of a couple of things so that you guys can have it. But other than that, this is just what we have so far. I can go ahead and get the dates out.
And Andre, I think, had something as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's a great idea.
Yeah, and if possible, and you don't have to share it or not with the entire group, but I can definitely help go through the list and see if there's anybody I can reach out to personally from that list of nonprofits that we work with across the state. So just to maybe send some individual personalized contacts.
Thank you, Andrew.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
The only other item probably, and I have no thoughts on this, but I think something for us to brainstorm about, and Lateef, I know you had offered, I think in one of our previous meetings, perhaps to brainstorm this a little bit, but I don't think any of these are going to require an exorbitant amount of money, because again, we're not doing a sit down gala steak dinner with mashed potatoes at all of these, or any of these. Actually, we're not doing that for any of these, just so we're clear. But I do think, there's probably going to be some coffee, pastries, some light something. So really the only cost may be a couple of little printed materials and perhaps some light refreshments across the 3 dates. So there's going to be some very slight costs that we will need to find funds for. So I don't know, perhaps Lateefa, if that is a sponsorship opportunity around CSP, or if that is something that we as commissioners want to work through as well. So but something just probably to put on the list for us to think about, because I do think that's going to be a need that's timely.
It can be the road show sponsored by Unum. That's the first thing I see when I look in there. It can be the road show sponsored by Unum. We don't need much money, but this it's just an opportunity to do it. We would have to think about just like how to highlight that particular organization as we do this, but it is an opportunity. As of right now, I think 3 is all that we are doing for this year, so that we can have the input for it. I think the last probably comment that I have is, as you guys are thinking about the road show, like we can think about this, right? But what does the actual gathering of information look like at the actual road show event? How do we want to administer and get the feedback? With this, because with the having a plan for small groups, having a plan for large groups, like what does that meeting actually look like? Because we don't want Jim to get up there and talk for 2 hours. So what does that actually look like when we're breaking down what information do we want? Is it information that we're gathering from all of our commissioners? Do we want a section about, the foundations of service and that volunteer effort, or disaster services? So just really thinking about what this looks like. And I think after you guys have had a more solid meeting to get some things out with the state service plan in that direction, that might shape how and the information that we're collecting. But just wanted to add that little bit. But after we get through the invite list, how we're actually collecting and what information we're collecting at these meetings is pivotal.
I think Latifa had something, then Katie, I think. And
Hi,
then Jim.
Katie.
Lots of people.
I'll go last.
Katie?
Katie, if you're talking, you're muted.
Okay, no, I thought Latifa was going first. Well, I was just looking at the agenda, and I think that one thing that is going to be attractive to people is it looks like they are getting an opportunity to participate in strategic planning for Volunteer Tennessee as a community partner, and I think that that's going to be really attractive to folks. And organizations that do strategic planning will understand, better what their role is around that language.
Then Jim, and then Latifa.
Yeah, just to note, I have a process for collecting the input on the state service plan, so we don't need to worry about that. So if you're hoping to collect other information, though, that would be something that the committee would need to think about, like how you want to collect it, what you want to collect.
Thanks, Jim. Okay, now Latifa.
Nice. I was just going to say that, and not to backtrack us, but there are definitely folks a part of the network core, and even folks we met the other evening that have already offered their space for CSP meetings, of course. But I think that, the roadshow is going to benefit all programs within Volunteer Tennessee, which, domino effect for corporate social purpose. So that being said, I don't know this to be true. We could totally ask, and I know we've already designated the venues, but I have a feeling potentially, I infer, no idea, that using the space usually comes with them paying for food. And that's just like historical evidence from the last 3 times we've done this and from the folks that we've talked to. So I know, again, venue's already been designated, but if there was any wiggle room there, that could be good. But either way, we can bring it up to the Corporate Social Purpose Network to see if someone would be willing to sponsor. And if that's not the case, I wonder, the question is, would this group be open to changing the venues if they would want it to be at their venue, so that way they could then, pay for food and things like that? Because I think just the logistics of it changes, especially in this time window, because folks may already have like their sponsorship dollars designated to other areas.
That's a decision for the group. So you guys let me know what it is that you want me to do, and I can communicate from here on out. But so that would be a decision for the group.
Jim, and then I'll offer a thought.
Yeah, I would just give a little bit input that I think in terms of cost, like very, very light refreshments is really all we need. You know, as Nathan has already said, this is not going to be a gala. This is just to let people know about what Volunteer Tennessee is. And then for the collecting the input on the state plan, that really is a working session for the participants. Like, they're not going to be sitting there passively listening to me talk. They're going to be talking themselves and talking with each other, you know, doing kind of that group work to develop suggestions and ideas. So, you know, they're going to be active, and it's not going to be really an opportunity for people to just kind of mix and mingle and do kind of chatty type stuff. They're going to be active and busy the whole time during the state plan part of it. So I wouldn't worry too much about trying to do anything other than like coffee, water, and maybe some cookies, or, you know, something really, really simple.
So on the question around the locations and the sponsorship piece, I do, since we've got, this is just me speaking, since we've got 3 locations identified and open to, I probably don't want to backtrack on those unless we need to do it out of necessity. Because I feel like we've made progress, and I think, and we know those dates are good. We know we can do it. So I'm wondering, Latifa, what would be the reasonable or next step for us to throw something to CSP? Is there an upcoming meeting, or is that more of that me, you, and Candace need to draft up a quick little letter saying exactly what we're asking for and what it would help, and for you to share with them? Now, if they were to come back and say yes, but only if it's in our building, then I think we can navigate that. But I think the ask initially is, would you sponsor just as is, right? And then whatever that looks like, you know, we can say, you know, this stop sponsored, blah, 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 or whatever that needs to be. But what is the realistic way that you would like for us to navigate making that ask from your perspective?
Yeah, I think definitely. So we don't have a meeting until September, actually, unless Nikki Wade call a special meeting. They take meetings off in July, which gives folks a break. So definitely could talk with Nikki and Wade informally. I think a write-up will be very valuable, and the direct connection to corporate social purpose. Obviously, they're a partner and they're a business and they want to support different agencies. So I don't think it has to be directly correlated to corporate social purpose, but I think showing the connection there is good in whatever the write-up is. And maybe if I'm a part of that, if you need me to be a part of that, let me know. And then we can share that with the group either way. And we can also just make informal calls asking folks. I can just text people. Yeah.
Okay. I am happy to, I know Candace has got a couple of things on her plate. I'm happy to take an initial stab at just a little one pager about kind of what we're asking, what it is, to share with the group to start that conversation. So I will put that on my list, so that way it's not extra, but that'll give us a starting place. So
Awesome.
Okay. And then I think somebody else, I think Amy or somebody else had another comment, or maybe not.
I think that's Katie.
Okay. Katie, is your hand still up, or do you have another comment?
No, sorry, I'll lower my hand. Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. You're good. Your arm would be getting tired now if this is real. Okay. Very good. Okay, Candace, back to you.
That's really all that I have. As far as these logistics, I am going to leave it to you guys as far as the agenda and the key points and the collections and, you know, all of that in the hands of you guys. So I'm going to circle back and go ahead and solidify. My next step with these 3 venues would be to have a planning session with all 3, just to make sure that they don't have any questions for us, so that I can bring it back to the group. But just so you guys know, I mean, they're kind of looking for me to go ahead and close the dates here, really like today, you know, / Monday, you know, just upcoming. So, you know, just sort of letting you guys know that. So this is all I have. So I have my to-do list of the things that I'm going to send you, Nathan, and I'll go ahead and work on those today so that you and Latifa have the information for your follow-up.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Mhm.
That sounds great. One thing I wanted to add, I know we've got just a few more minutes, then we'll open it up. Related to hard shift, related to Governor's Volunteer Stars Awards. I was in a meeting yesterday with a couple of nonprofit leaders here in the Northeast Tennessee area. And one of the items that came up in that conversation was the fact that the President's Volunteer Service Award, of course, has been put on pause as well at the federal level. Um, and their perception being that there may be an increased interest and perhaps opportunity for our purposes around Governor's Volunteer Stars Awards, because that's a gap that, I mean, a lot of schools and a lot of organizations were very involved in the President's Volunteer Service Award. And the Governor's Volunteer Stars Awards essentially is the state equivalent, right? In some capacity. So I definitely think there's probably an opportunity to, I don't want to say capitalize on that, but to maximize the fact that folks are looking to try to recognize extraordinary service. And right now we're probably the only one doing it at a large level since the federal one has gone away. So just wanted to throw that out there as something for folks to think about. Is there perhaps an intentional way that we say, hey, we know this is unfortunate, we know it's gone, but we still want to support you in recognizing your amazing people. Here's the Governor's Volunteer Star Awards, right? So just want to throw that out there. But Amy?
Just thinking, did they have sponsors for that awards? The federal?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
Because they may be people we can get a hold of if they're looking for a place to support volunteerism. I'm just throwing that out.
Yeah, Amy, I'm not aware of any particular groups that sponsor that. I mean, that doesn't mean that there aren't, but that Presidential Service Award is mainly it's like the Presidential Fitness Award thing. It's like there's not really any kind of money or anything behind it. It's just it relies on local folks to certify that the kids have done whatever it is that they need to get the honor, the certificate or medal or whatever it is from the president. So I don't think there's any sponsors. The other thing, though, that I'll throw in, Nathan, it's not as broad as the presidential recognition for service, but the First Lady has her Tennessee Kids Service, Tennessee Kids Serve Summer Challenge. Now it's only for rising kindergarten to rising sixth grade. But we can certainly share that with local communities that are kind of distressed a little bit about the presidential recognition being put on pause. It'll at least capture about half of the students that are out there maybe trying to get that award.
Do you think, Jim, that there might be any way, and I don't know if we would have access to this information, but I know that the program, the President's Volunteer Service Award, was coordinated through AmeriCorps at the federal level. So I'm curious, is there any way, for these local certifying agencies that perhaps were in Tennessee, is there a list of those somewhere? Is there a way? Because, I mean, the ability to say like, hey, right? Because if they were doing it for that, I don't see why they might not be willing to be one of our county coordinators, or you know what I mean? In place. So
yeah. To be honest, it's been a minute since I've looked at the Presidential Service Award. So I don't remember if there's a public listing of certifying agencies, although it seems like maybe you go in and you have to put in like your address or your zip code, and then it will tell you the organizations that are certifying that are close to you. I don't think that you can just get the list for Tennessee. I mean, we can ask for it, but given the extreme reduction of staff at the AmeriCorps agency, I don't know if we'd get a response. I mean, we can try though.
Yeah, just an idea, because I know those are things that folks were interested in, and it's no longer available. Here's some other options, right? That at the state level. So, okay, we've got like 2 or 3 minutes left. I know folks are hopping off, so I'll open it up free for all. What do folks have? What needs updates? I think we got through a lot, but
I do have one quick thing. I am looking for, just to wrap this up very quickly, for the conference in GVSA, if I could just leave a little carrot for next meeting. If you guys can send me, if you have any ideas of any keynote speakers, I really would like to go ahead and get that squared away as soon as possible so that I have the agenda at a glance, the theme and the keynote speakers that I can go ahead and start sending out as people are, just growing the excitement for the conference in GVSA. So if you guys have any ideas of keynote speakers, any things that you think would be attention grabbing, please send it my way. I will reach out to them and see what it is that we can have going on. And then I will already have the sponsor packs kind of ready. It's like at an 85, 90% approval. So I will have those to you hopefully by the next meeting to go ahead and have that done. And then as far as GVSA, I'm sorry, y'all, my air conditioning is out. So if you hear my fan back here, I'm so sorry. But and then also for GVSA, just on the same wavelength, we have about half of our county coordinators that have signed up. I will have a meeting with them in July, and everything will kind of start rolling about August, September for workshop submissions, GVSA, Award of Excellence. For My Sanity, everything will kind of be running on the same time frame. Everything's going to cut off on the same day. Everything is all going to be on the same calendar. So, so if you guys have any keynotes, any ideas for this upcoming conference, this upcoming GVSA, just let me know. I'll take it, vet it, evaluate it, and have a more detailed briefing about it the next meeting.
thank you, Candace. Others, right on time. So any final thoughts? Okay. Thank you all so much. We will send a follow-up email with all of the things and all of the asks. And I know some of us have some homework. Thanks so much, Latifah. Thanks, Candace, Jim, everybody on the screen. I think that's it. I think we're good to go.
Thanks, y'all. Take care.
everybody.
Thank you all. Have a good weekend.
Bye.
You guys too.
Okay, wait, Candace.
Hold on 1 second.
Mhm.
Let me.
Oh, right.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes. So Nathan said we'll follow up via email with all the things. I am about to send an email, but I'm assuming he means like y'all will follow up with the email with all the things, or should I be sending all of that in the email, you think?
I don't know. Are you
Yeah.
sending it out like here, like within the next hour or so? I won't be
Yeah.
ready.
Okay, just I mean, I don't have to send it out in the hour, just have to send out that survey, and I was gonna send out
Yeah.
transcript probably.
Let me think. What do I think the only thing that for me, for right now would just be like I could create the roadshow SharePoint,
Mm,
and you could add that link to the email, and so that way I can just
mm.
add it in as we
Yeah.
go, and you won't be so pressed, and you can go ahead and keep your time
Okay.
schedule for it. Would that work?
That's perfect. And I'll reference that.
Okay.
I'll be like, oh, not there as yet, but get maybe till Tuesday.
Yeah.
Okay. Check it out
Yep,
on Tuesday.
because
Okay.
it's a holiday next week. So with
Mm.
Juneteenth being on Thursday, the most African American thing I can do is be off on Friday. And so I'm doing it. So,
Mhm.
so
100%.
so
Mhm.
definitely Tuesday. I can go ahead and have everything just sort of uploaded.
Mhm.
And and everything can happen there. So let me just do
Yeah, and I will be
I
off
can
on
do that
Friday
within an hour.
too. Let me put that on my calendar.
Child, it's the most African American thing I can do for Juneteenth, and I'm gonna do it. Okay, so roadshow SharePoint. Do you already have a and pardon me if you do, and the redundant question, but do you already
Mm-mm.
have a strategic partnership communications where all of them are all invited? Do you already have that?
Oh, you mean like oh yeah. That
Okay.
yeah, exactly. I was like, what that is, let me pass that link to you. And
Yes,
actually
and
it'll
then
be
I
in the
can
email.
Okay, and I can create the roadshow link up under that. I just don't know where to find it. So if you could just share that
Mhm.
link with me, that'd be great.
Yeah, and I don't know
Or
if it'll always live here. I hope Anthony doesn't change it, but I think he was considering changing it. This is like an external site. Um, I hope he doesn't
well,
change it though. But
I hope not either. So well, we'll just keep it for now, and if it changes, it changes. But I mean, I can
Mhm.
always connect it to OneDrive if that's the case. But I just need that one like focal point so that
Mhm.
everybody's instead of recreating the wheel, just having that focal point.
Yeah.
Okay.
Team. Nice. Oh, also let me ask you too while I'm here, so I don't forget. I'm putting the final presentations on interns' calendars for because I think it should be separate. There's too many of them this time, and some of the CSP last time core people they were like, oh, it would have been nice to like be able to talk to them, like give better feedback. So definitely want
Yeah.
that to be separate. But I want to get the gathering too on their calendars because they are busy, like these interns. I want to make sure that they have it in advance because
Do
they
you
be
already have
so
a
busy.
do you already have a date in mind?
Oh no.
Okay.
Not even in the least. Whatever you decide, but they should have yeah. Darn, I was gonna say they have their time on their calendars, but actually they don't just yet because we don't have their emails just yet.
When do you think that this particular session is a good ending point before the fall semester starts?
August 1st is their last
August
day.
1st is that last day?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's their final
Um,
presentation date. So it wouldn't be able to be on
on
that date, but
that's a Friday. Okay.
mhm.
Okay. So, but you said that that's the date, right? You're just thinking about extending the time?
No, not necessarily. No, I think that it should just be separate, like a totally different day. Like even if it's like halfway through, I don't know if you were planning to do like it's at the very end again, which worked, but it wouldn't be able to be on the Friday because we have communications and then AmeriCorps and CSP, and they all have their own separate ones. Maybe AmeriCorps, maybe not, but definitely CSP and
Well, let's think about this. I mean, do they need it? Because I think initially we put it there not to eat up space. I hate to put it like that,
mm,
but to give them some point of interaction. But now that the presentations are taking the spotlight of what it is that we're doing, because like I said, we just kind of playing a little game, like, oh my gosh, yes, but is that beneficial for them? Like, it's good,
mm,
but is it really beneficial? Is it something that we transfer over to like an an event that's in person? That way that
mm.
we, that might be a better transition. I noticed that, you guys came together last time, but is that something that would be more beneficial? Would just be to kind of X the game that we're doing and just move it to an external, like to a
Hmm.
in-person kind of thing. So I guess that's something to consider. Like, do we even want to continue to do it?
I liked it. I feel like I do think it's nice. Do I think it maybe needs to be a little bit earlier in the game instead of at the end? Potentially, but I think it's
Possibly.
worked out so far. Yeah, and
Do you want to do a midpoint check-in maybe with the crew?
that would be cool. Yeah,
Okay. Just to be like, hey, just wanted to bring you guys in just to check, see how you're
mhm.
doing. We could maybe possibly do the survey at that point to see what's working. Are we still recording?
Oh, are we? I'll delete that. My bad. Stop. In my mind, that